sweet thing. Oh, thank goodness you're here. I have been thinking about episode 7 of Agatha all along, non-stop, since it aired. I just cannot stop thinking about poor Lilia living out of sequence like that, and then the ending. Oh. But she did give us a gift. No, I'm not talking about Patti LuPone's performance, although that was a gift to television. And if they don't give that woman an Emmy for it, no. I'm talking about the Safe Passage tarot spread that she did in the episode. I have been dying to try it out ever since I saw it. And, well, you're here. Would you like a reading? Oh, darling, let's head over to the altar and I'll grab my deck. I said my deck. I was talking about the tarot. Don't be disgusting. All right, here we are at the altar. So let's try out Lilia's spread. Now, in the show, Lilia used what was essentially a different version, a sort of made-for-the-show version of the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot. But she was a 15th, 16th century Italian witch, so she probably predates tarot, and actually the decks that she would have used would have been a lot closer to, say, a Marseille deck than the modern Rider-Waite-Smith. Now, I do not have a Marseille deck on hand. The closest I have to the vibe, if not the actual deck itself, is this Legendarium Tarot. This was a tarot that I backed on Kickstarter because I loved sort of the medieval fantasy elements of it. Just thought it would be cool to have around in case I ever started reading at Ren fairs. But who would have thought that it would come in handy for Lilia's Safe Passage tarot spread? So let's go ahead and get these cards shuffled. All right, and the deck has been shuffled and cut. Let's see what the tarot has to tell us. The first card is the Traveler, or the Querent. Next is what is missing, the reason for the quest. We have the path behind us, and we have the path ahead. There are the obstacles that we will face, and the potential windfall if we reach the end. And at last, we come to our destination. All right, so not only are we trying out Lilia's spread, but I'd like to kind of take you through how I read tarot and just kind of verbalize for you my thought process. So the first thing I do is scan the spread to see what is there a lot of. And right away, we've got a lot of cups, we've got a lot of swords, and only one wand, one love, or one major arcana, no pentacles. So this suggests to me that this is a spread that is going to talk mostly about mental state and emotional state, possibly tension between the two. Now, it's interesting, and for anyone who reads the tarot, frustrating that, 4 out of 6 cards are court cards. Court cards are notoriously difficult to interpret. Classically, they usually represented actual people, but as we've sort of moved away from using the tarot predictively and more into using it as a tool for introspection, they have come to sort of represent states of being, states of relating, sort of archetypal energies. However, I think because we have here a court card in the position of the traveler, that is probably going to be a actual person, the querent. So here we have someone who is just beginning to learn the lessons of their suit. The pages are young and they are beginning to learn about the energies and the sort of larger lessons that their suit represents. So with the Page of Cups, we have someone who's just learning about emotions, about love, about connection and creativity. And I think it's interesting that we have, in contrast, what is missing, the King of Cups. So we're actually seeing these cards at two different ends of the spectrums. Here we have the beginning. Here we have the end goal of the suit. The Kings represent someone who has not only mastered the lessons of their suit, but are also now then turning outwards and using those lessons to better the world around them. So I think it's interesting that this is what is missing. So there's a level of maturity that is missing for this spread. The road behind, we have the Three of Wands. Now, one thing that is interesting about this deck is that it does have its own sort of interpretation of things. They're usually pretty close with the traditional interpretations of these cards, but here we've got a keyword, Beltane. Beltane, of course, is the neo-pagan feast of the coming of spring and the coming of summer. And there's a lot of energy connected to love, a lot of energy connected to passion, both emotional and physical, to growth and fertility. So I'm actually going to dive into the guidebook on this one because those aren't things I normally associate with the Three of Wands necessarily. So let's check out the guidebook. There's cups. Here we go. Sparks from the hot fires soar toward the starry sky as flowers and young green branches intertwine into wreaths for lovers. The spring night breathes with passion. Raise the torches higher, sing louder, bow down for the Queen of Beltane, the Queen of the Spring. Interesting. So they're going just full on up away from the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings. Oh no, here we go. Standing on a high hill, I gaze ahead and behold the distant horizon of my future. It is radiant. Time to make useful acquaintances, make new beginnings, and embark on exciting new adventures with confident forward movement. Okay. So that I can sort of relate to the Three of Wands much easier. But it's, again, interesting because this is the card of new beginning and it's the path behind. So we are looking at someone who is already on the path, somebody who is already walking this path. And it's saying you've been here a while because the new beginning is behind you. What lies ahead? The Knight of Swords. So the Knight of Swords, in this instance, it feels, if not like a person, then like what this card, the kind of person this represents. So this is someone who will challenge you. So it feels to me like a challenge of ideas. And so we have this sort of young, learning, almost naive querent who is about to face challenges to their idealistic worldview. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about then the obstacles and the potential windfall, both reversed. Now, here with the Two of Swords, the Dreamer, we have, of course, the Two of Swords traditionally is a card of indecision, stagnation, being stuck. And again, it's interesting because dreaming is something I would connect more to the Four of Swords, the Four of Cups, the Fours in general. So it's interesting that they have chosen the archetype of the Dreamer for the Two of Swords. But again, we have it reversed. So it feels like there's a blockage there. We're almost taking it to an extreme. So it's okay to have those moments of stillness. However, with it being reversed, that stillness can almost become complacency or stagnation. So the obstacle, I think, here is stagnation. And just going off of the symbolism of the picture, this is someone who has made themselves very comfortable. So it almost feels like the spread is saying, watch out for becoming too comfortable, which is interesting, especially in the larger context of this safe passage spread that is built around the idea of a journey. So you might take a rest on your journey and then become so comfortable you never resume it. And then the potential windfall. It's interesting to think of a windfall in a reversed card, but again we have the Queen of Swords, and here, especially because we're connecting again, making that connection between the two swords, it feels like almost the potential windfall here is the ability to toughen up, to sharpen the wit, to sharpen the mind, as long as you don't get too complacent. As long as you continue to challenge yourself, you'll grow that thicker skin. You will become tougher, become sharper, become more able to sort of navigate the sort of stickier sides of the journey of the world. And then we have finally our outcome, our destination, and we have the Lovers. And now this is a card that often is interpreted as love. I have never interpreted that way. When I'm thinking love or relationship, I am thinking of the Two of Cups, because the minor arcana tends to be about more mundane things, while the major arcana tends to be a little more elevated, a little more spiritual. And I have always loved the interpretation of the Lovers as a card of spiritual union, of a union between the self that is looking out through the eyes and the self, the higher self, the muse, as it were. So it does feel like this entire, well, it could go either way, because again, we've got the Cups saying emotional, which would lead to the interpretation of this as an actual relationship. But we also have the swords that are more of a mental, sort of intellectual energy. So that could play into the interpretation of the muse. And even in the artwork itself, you can see we've got that sort of red and gold of the sword suit, and we've got that sort of blue and gray of the cup suit. So this is where intuition comes in, where talking to the querent about what it is they are actually looking for comes into play, and what's going on in their life. So anyway, I actually really like this spread. It's clear that whoever put it together for the show understood tarot, understood the story that the show was telling, and understood what makes a good tarot spread. So thank you, Lilia. I might just steal this and start using it in professional readings. Oh, I don't know how that was on your end, darling, but it was fantastic for me. I was talking about the tarot. Really, get your mind out of the gutter. No, you don't have to pay me for it, darling, but if you did enjoy it, I'll tell you what, go ahead and hit that like button. And come back some other time when I've got the cards out. You know what? You can just hit subscribe or ring the bell, and it'll let you know when I've got my deck out. My deck. Oh. Until we merry meet again, darling, do something with yourself. Really, it's starting to get... I don't even know.